Sheets introduced diversity pedagogy theory as a set of principles that point out the natural and inseparable connection between culture and cognition. In other words, to be effective English teachers, we must understand and acknowledge the critical role that culture plays in the teaching and learning process. Diversity pedagogy theory maintains that culturally inclusive teachers must A. Observe children's cultural behaviour patterns to identify individual and group cultural competencies and skills, and B. Use this knowledge to guide their teaching decisions. In addition to this, quality inclusive pedagogy relates to teachers' dexterous knowledge that justifies the what, why, and how they teach. By providing multi-phased instructions that ensure Indigenous students have access to the curriculum, there is a positive effect on the academic achievement of all students. By evolving into culturally competent educators, we can craft responsive English lessons that accommodate to the learning needs of students from lower socio-cultural backgrounds. This process is described as professional knowledge of inclusive practice. Inclusive practices enable the full range of learners to participate in learning experiences on the same basis. A great way to scaffold the learning of Indigenous students can involve using storytelling and visual cues to support their learning. Also, when Indigenous students are not comfortable speaking up in front of the class, try and incorporate more hands-on learning and a greater variety of practical experiences in your lessons. Indigenous youth can also often avoid direct eye contact with adults, as it is considered rude in many Indigenous cultures. Aboriginal children are also less likely to answer questions in the English classroom because their culture has been traditionally passed on through telling of stories, rather than questions and answers. Hence why receptive modes of teaching can be beneficial for Indigenous students because they incorporate reading, listening, and viewing. From years 7 to 10, students are expected to understand how the selection of text structures is influenced by the selection of language mode, and how this varies for different purposes and audiences. Students also must be able to explain how language features, images, and vocabulary are used to represent different ideas and issues in text. One way to assist Indigenous students in developing their ability to evaluate how text structures can be used in innovative ways is to embed text from Indigenous authors. Indigenous students are more likely to identify how the choice of language features, images, and vocabulary contribute to the development of a text if it is from an Indigenous author. Just by incorporating Indigenous perspectives into content we use in the classroom, it is possible to establish a positive cultural environment and celebrate cultural identity. Another strategy for the English classroom is setting high expectations for low-achieving students. A study by Craven in 2010 found that Aboriginal students were associated with lower confidence in their ability to perform in the English classroom. Yarning circles are a great tool for building confidence and bringing authentic Indigenous ways of communicating into the classroom. There are many different ways of thinking about, talking about, and using yarning circles from across the country. So talk to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in your school and local area about these approaches and see what might be appropriate to build confidence in your students. In conclusion,